Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
How are you?
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Okay, I will start first. On this occasion, I will discuss about the VR, virtual reality. What is virtual reality? Virtual reality is a computer-generated environment with scans and objects that appear to be real, making the user feel they are immersed in their surroundings. This environment is perceived through a device known as a virtual reality headset or helmet. VR allows us to immerse ourselves in video games as if we were one of the characters, learn how to perform heart surgery, or improve the quality of sports training to maximize performance. Although this may seem extremely futuristic, its origins are not as recent as we may think. In fact, many people consider that one of the first virtual reality devices was called Sensorama, a machine with a built-in set that played 3D movie, gave off odors, and generate vibration to make the experience as vivid as possible. The invention dates back as far as the mid 1950. Subsequent technological and software development over the following years brought with them progressive evolution both in the device and in interface design. Differences with augmented reality. Despite being a technology that originated decades ago, many people are still unfamiliar with the concept of virtual reality. It is also common to those that think virtual we immerse ourselves through a specific headset. It is fully immersive, and everything we see is part of an environment artificially constructed through images, sounds, and others. On the other hand, in augmented reality (AR), our own world becomes the framework with which objects, images, or similar are placed. Everything we see is in real environment, and it may not be strictly necessary to wear a headset. The clearest and most mainstream example of this concept is Pokemon Go. However, there is also a combination of both reality called mixed reality. This hybrid technology makes it possible, for example, to see virtual objects in the real world and build an experience in which the physical and the digital practically indistinguishable. Main application of virtual reality. Let's look about the theory that is projecting us into the future. Which sector is virtual reality actually being used in today? Medicine, culture, education, and architecture are some of the areas that have already taken advantage of this technology. From guided museum visit to the dissection of a muscle, VR allows us to cross boundaries that would otherwise be unimaginable. The future of virtual reality. Virtual reality is one of the technology with the highest projected potential for growth. According to the latest forecast from IDC Research 2018, investment in VR and ER will will multiply 21-fold over the next 4 years, reaching 15.5 billion euro by 2022. In addition, what technology will be key to company digital transformation plans, and their spending in this area will exceed that the consumer sector by 2019. It is therefore expected that by 2020, Over half of the larger European company will have a VR and AR strategy. Nowadays, the market is demanding applications that go beyond leisure, tourism, or marketing and are more affordable for users. Virtual interface also need to be improved to avoid defects such as clipping, which makes certain solid objects appear as though they can be passed through, or to minimize the effect that VR produces in people, among them motion sickness, which consists of a dizziness induced by the mismatch between the movement of our body and what is being seen in the virtual world. The big technology companies are already working to develop headsets that do not need cables and that allow images to be seen in HD. They are developing virtual reality headset in 8K and with much more powerful processor. There is even talk that in the next few years they could integrate artificial intelligence. The latest 5G standards can also provide very interesting scenario for the evolution of VR. This standard will allow more devices and larger user community to be connected. In addition, its almost imperceptible latency will make it possible for consumers to receive images in real time, almost as if they were seeing them with their own eyes. All, all this means that virtual reality is no longer science fiction. It is integrated into our passion, and in the coming years, it will lead to advances that will shape the future. I think enough. This is the end my presentation. Be continue by Rahayu.
Okay, hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I will tell you three theories of the entry of Islam to Indonesia. There are three theories about the entry of Islam into Indonesia, namely the Gujarati theory, the Makkah theory, and the Persian theory. The three theory confine the perspective of when Islam entered the country of origin, the spreaders of carriers of Islam to Indonesia. These three theories do not actually discuss the entry of Islam to each of the islands in Indonesia, but only analyze the entry of Islam Sumatra and Java because these two regions are samples for other parts of Indonesia. In other words, the entry of Islam to the island determines the development of Islam to other islands. The follow are the three theories. One, Gujarati theory. The Gujarati theory say that the process of the arrival of Islam to Indonesian originated in Gujarat in the 7th century or 13th century AD. Gujarat is located in western India adjacent to Arabian Sea. Most of the figures who socialize this theory were scholars from the Netherlands. The first scholar to put forward this theory was G. Pigeonapple from Leiden University in the 19th century. According to him, Arab with Safaei have been living in Gujarat and Malabar since the beginning of Hijriah 7th century AD. But those who spread Islam to Indonesia, according to Pigeonapple, were not from direct Arabs, but Gujarati traders who had embraced Islam and traded to Eastern world, including Indonesia. In subsequent development, the pigeonhole theory we agree and disseminated by a leading Dutch Orientalist Snokhogeni. According to him, Islam had already developed in the port cities of the India continent. The Gujarati people had early opened trade relations with Indonesia than with Arab traders. In Huj in Hujur in Horjon view, the arrival of the Arab occurred at a later date. Arab who came were mostly uh, descendants of the Prophet Muhammad who used the little shahid of Sharif in form of his name. The Gujarati theory was later also developed by J.P. Mokuta 2912, who provide argument with the tombstone of Sultan Malik Saleh, who died on 17 Zulhijjah 831 Hijriah 1297 ED in Pasai, Aceh. According to him, the tombstone in Pasai, the tomb of Maulana Malik Ibrahim, who died in 1419 in Gresik, as Java, have the same shape as the one in Cambrai, Gujarat. Mokueta finally conclude the some tombstones were imported from Gujarat, or at least made by Gujarati people or Indonesian who had learned Gujarati calligraphy. Another reason is the similarity of the Shafi'i school of thought that are adopted by Muslim community in Gujarat and Indonesia. During its development, the Gujarati theory was refuted by many experts. More accurate evidence such as new from Arabic, Persian, Turkish, and Indonesian strength and statement that Islam entered Indonesia not being brought by Gujarati traders. Historian Azumarzi Azra explained the Gujarat and cities in the Indian subcontinent were only transit point for Arab traders before continuing on to Southeast Asia and East Asia. In addition, in the 12th and 13th centuries AD, and the Gujarat region was still controlled by strong Hindu influence. From the various arguments of the Gujarati theory put forward by several historians, anthropologists, and political science, their analysis appear to Hindu-centric because its assessment that all social, political, economic, cultural, and regions change in Indonesia cannot be separated from Indian influence. This Gujarati theory certainly has weakness when compared to Mecca theory. To find out more, below we discuss the view of the theory of Makkah. Second, the theory of Makkah. The Makkah theory say that the process of entering Islam into Indonesia was directly from Makkah or Arabia. This process took place in the 1st century Hijriah or 7th century AD. The figure of introduced this theory was Haji Abdul Karim Abdullah or Hamka, an Indonesian scholar and writer. Hamka expressed his opinion in 1958 during a speech delivery at the anniversary of the State Islam College (PTIN) in Yogyakarta. He rejected all the assumptions we Western scholars who argued that Islam came to Indonesia not directly from Arabia. The argument used the reservoir material of Hamka are local Indonesia source and Arabia source. According to him, the initial motivation for the arrival of the Arabs was not based on economic values, but was driven by the motivation of the spirit of Islam. In Hamka viewed the trade routes between Indonesia and Arabia and had been going on long before in Common Era. In this case, the Hamka theory is a refutation of the Gujarati theory, which has many weaknesses. He is even suspicious of the prejudice of Western Orientalist writers who tend to discredit Islam in Indonesia. Western writer Said Hamka made a very systematic effort to eliminate the belief of the Malay countries about the intimate spiritual relationship between them and Arab lands and main source of Islam Indonesia in obtaining religion knowledge. In Hamka views, Muslim in Indonesia got Islam from the first people Arab, not from just trading. Hamka view is almost the same as the Sufi theory expressed by A. H. Jones, who said that it has the travelers' nomads who did carry out the initial Islam mission in Indonesia. Sufis usually wander from one place to another. They establish a gathering or institute of tarekat. There are interesting facts regarding the voyages of the Arab written by T. W. Arnold. It is stated that the Arab science the true and story BC have controlled the trade in Ceylon. If we connect it with the explanation of the old Arabic literature, which say Al-Hind means India or the island as of it to China, and Indonesia also called the Chinese island. It is likely that it's 3rd century BC and Arab and Arif in Indonesia. Only mention of them as the island of China Al-Hindu. If it is true that there has been a relationship between the Arab and Indonesia since the 3rd century BC, then the Arabs would be first foreigners to become to the archipelago. 3. Persian theory. Persian theory say that the process and arrival of Islam in Indonesia came from the Persian of Persian, now Iran regions. The originator of this theory is Husin Dajariningrat, a historian from Banten. In giving his argument, Hussein emphasizes an analysis to similarities of culture and tradition that developed between the Persian and Indonesian people. This cultural similarity can be seen in the Indonesian Islamic community include, first, the commemoration of 10 Muharram of Ashura and the holiday of the for the death of Hussein bin Ali, the grandson, the Prophet Muhammad, as developed in the tradition of the Ark Pariaman in West Sumatra. The term Ark Keranda is taken from Arabic, which was translated to Persian. Second, other traditions are mystical teaching and have many similarities. For example, between the teaching of the Sheikh Siti Jenar from Central Java and teaching of the Sufi Al-Hazad from Persia. It is not a coincidence that both of them were punished by the local authors because their teaching were to be against Islamic monotheism, apostasy, and endanger political and social stability. 3. The use of Iranian terms in the Arabic spelling system for sake of vowel sound in early stage Quran set a recitation. The Tushel sin comes from Persia, while the Tut is comes to Arabic. 4. The gift of Malikus Saleh, 1297, and the tomb of Malik Ibrahim, 1419. His Gresik were ordered from Gujarat. In this respect, the Persian theory of absolute similarities to the Gujarati theory. 5. Another reason put forward by Hussing in line with Mokuta theory, namely that there are similarities in the art of stitch, calligraphy, and the gravestone used early Islamic graffiti in Indonesia. Another similar is that Indonesia Muslim adhere to Shafi'i school and of thought just like most Muslim in Iran. However, this theory difficult for Kiai Haji Sarifuddin Juhri as one of the seminar participant. The reason they put forward is that if we are guided by entry of Islam in Indonesia in the 7th century, this meant that it happened during an reign of the Caliph Umayyah. At that time, the leadership Islam in men's politik, economy, dan cultural field and was in the head of the Arabs, while the center of Islamic movement what is Makkah, Medina, Damascus, and Baghdad. So it was impossible for Persia to accompany the leadership of the Islam world. From the description about the can see difference and similarities of the three theories of Gujarat, Makkah, and Persia as follow. Between the Gujarat and Persian theories, there are similarity in views regarding the entry of Islam into Indonesia, which originate from Gujarat. As difference lies in the Gujarati theory, which sees the teaching of Islam as having the same teaching as mystic in India, while as Persian theory view the similarity between Sufi teaching in Indonesia and Persia. He sees Gujarat as an area influenced by Persia and as a heaven forced teaching to Indonesia. In terms of view, Gujarat as stopper, not center, agrees with the Makkah theory, but the Makkah theory view Gujarat the stopper for sea trade trips between Indonesia and Middle East, while Islamic teaching were taken from Makkah or from Egypt. Although the three theories have two common ground, they share a common view, namely Islam as a religion developed in Indonesia took a peaceful path. Thank you for enough. Next, Caca.
Hello, good afternoon, all.
Hello.
Afternoon.
Okay, on this occasion, I want to tell you about the bad and the good side of fast food. On the fast food is any food that can be served in instant. The keyword is fast, so whatever the menu is, you can make it quickly. It can be considered as fast food, even it is as simple as on the omelette. So can we consider fast food healthy? The answer is absolutely you can, but are all fast food healthy? The answer is no. This is reason why some people tend to term fast food as junk food with all negative stuff in it. Let's take a closer look at this matter. Instant recipe has been around since the beginning of time. But the term fast food gained its first public recognition in 1950 after it was added in Merriam-Webster in dictionary in 1951, 21 years after a giant fast food company. McDonald's was founded. Ever since that time, a lot of people, especially in urban area, think of fast food as an answer to their needs. The busy lifestyle in urban area has made a lot of people to have a very limited break time that they often too busy to just sit and wait for their meal for these people. Fast food became a brilliant idea to save them from wasting their time. But they can still keep their belly full in the same time. In addition, fast food companies such as White Castle, Subway, Taco Bell, KFC, Burger King, and McDonald's design their product based on the local taste where they sell it. This strategy makes their menu to be very tempting for customers. Moreover, their freshly cooked food make the taste of very item to be even more tastier to eat. As the result, people are willing to return to their restaurants over and over again. In contrast, some people do not like fast food to that much. Some of them can even be called as anti-fast food person. They don't like fast food because they believe that fast food is not healthy for our body. The cooking process in one food the reasons why they believe that are actually not good. Some people believe that it makes them more than several minutes to cook a proper food. This quick process of fast food making seems too good to be true for some people that they believe that the food might be undercooked or if they force it to be done quickly by exposing it to extreme heat. It has lost its nutrients, therefore consuming it is not healthy. The smell, taste, and look of fast food is believed to be too appealing for some people, that they are so certain it contains unnatural ingredients which can be dangerous for the body. There have been some viral stories where some people conducted a self-administered experiments on some fast food product with the finding that the products stay the same as the first day. They book in the fast food restaurant and being kept for more than a month. This finding leads them to idea that some fast food contain too much preservative which make it be dangerous to body. It has lost if they force it to be done quickly by exposing it to extreme heat. It has lost its nutrients, therefore consuming it is not healthy. The smell, taste, and the look of fast food is believed to be too appealing for some people, that they are so certain in contain unnatural ingredients which can be dangerous for the body. There have been some viral stories where some people conducted a self-administered experiments on some fast food product with the finding that the product stayed the same as the first day. They buffed it in a fast food restaurant after being kept for more than a month. The finding leads them to idea that some fast food contain too much preservative which make it be dangerous for the body. Maybe that's all I can say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's just end the meeting this time. See you next time.
See you.